Hi, good afternoon.
Good evening, Professor.
Yeah, good evening. It's evening there. Anyway, good afternoon, Peter. Um, how are you, Eva? Are you there, Eva? So I have only two people. What's going on? Yeah, good afternoon, Eva. What's going on? Only two people. Um, yeah, I know you're there. I can see. Uh, Let me just share my screen. Let me share my screen. Alrighty, so um, I was in the 11 a.m. class. Something quite strange happened because I recorded that whole 2 hour session, but suddenly, there's no recording. There's no. I've been checking it over and over for over an hour. No recording. Something must be wrong uh, with the collaborate, but hopefully. Alrighty. So we have two people here. Let me just check how many are in the forum. Just two in the forum. What happens to the rest of the class? Well, anyway, so I would like to remind you that um, our last day of class is this Thursday, and this Thursday will be a face-to-face day. Okay, last day of class. We'll be meeting in Murray Building, 1009. So I will see you there. And on that day, we can talk about anything. I mean, we haven't. I mean, all the reviews, we haven't been even able to finish the review on the. Oh, I see two more people, Jiaming and Zaid. Um, as I said, we haven't even completed all the review. Maury Street. Maury Building is called Maury Building because it's on Maury Street. Okay. Um, well, the room number it's in the announcement, 1009. Where is it? Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be a computer lab or just a smart classroom. I don't know because I haven't used the Maury Building for a long time. No, hopefully it's a computer lab. But either way, so we still need to. We don't have. Look, there is only so much we can do today, and so on that day, although I wanna, I already assigned this. I want to talk about. I want you to watch these, and I want to talk about also. I want you to read this article. I mean, this is Warren Buffett's lecture in 1984 at Columbia. No, don't download it. It just downloaded. I don't need that to be downloaded. Uh, where's the download? Uh, super investors of Graham and Doddsville. Graham and Dodds. Why isn't it opening? Okay, this is a almost I should say classic, right? And Warren Buffett was probably in his 40s in the 80s because it was 40 years ago. He is about 80 something, I believe now. So he was about 40 something at the time because he went to Columbia in the 1950s, early 1950s. He was a Columbia. So as an alumnus, he gave a lecture at Columbia in '84, and that's this is he is a famous lecture, um, and Graham and Dodds were his professors when he was a Columbia student. So Professor Graham was the one who wrote, The Intelligent Investor, right? Which are considered, like must read. But yeah, these are those Graham and Benjamin Graham and David Dodd. So I want you to read this, and we can talk about this. Um, but we have only 1 hour 15 minutes. There is just only so much we can do. So he says, after getting an A plus in Benjamin Graham's class and graduation from Columbia Business School in 1951, so he graduated in 1950. Buffett went to work on Wall Street at Graham, Newman and Company. 57, founded his own partnership, which he ran for 10 years. Article is based on a speech he gave at Columbia Business School May 17, 1984, a seminar marking the 50th anniversary of the publication of Benjamin Graham and David Dawes' Security Analysis. Well, anyway, and want you to also what I mean. This is today's. I believe these are your today's assigned videos. It's really a wonderful, wonderful documentary about the 1984. 2008 financial crisis. 2008. So we'll be on that day. We'll be talking about this. But then what we need to do today is muni bond and tips. Now think about it. Last time the muni bond is, we all know municipal bonds, and face value of muni bond. First of all, um, you should already know. I don't need to go over this again. Can anyone tell me what is the face value of municipal bond? Hmm? Anyone? Again, this is a point giver, right? Uh, I have like 5 people here. Anyone can tell me what's the face value of muni bond? Anyone? Hmm? Eva, Jiaming, What's the face value of the muni bond? Anyone? Jorge? Peter? Zaid? No. What 1 year? I said face value. Face value. Huh? Face value is dollar value. 1 year is not. 1 year is not a value, right? How about you, oh, Jiaming? No, 1,000 is the face value of other bonds, like regular bonds, like corporate bonds, corporate bonds, and treasury. Uh, but I said muni bond is the only exception. Muni bond has different face value. Anybody else? Jorge? How about you, Peter? Hmm? We talked about this. Come on. Zaid? And Mamadou has just joined us. How are you, Mamadou?
Good. How about you?
Good, good. Mamadou, there was a point giver question. Can you answer that? What is the face value of a municipal bond?
I,
Face value of the
um,
muni bond. Hmm?
I'm not even too sure. I can't even see nothing.
You can't even what?
I can't see nothing like on the screen.
Oh, it doesn't. Well, you don't need to see anything on the screen. Are you using a computer? If you're using a computer, there's no reason you can't see. Ashley has just also joined us. Ashley, how are you, Ashley?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, good. How are you? Ashley, I was just, asking a point giver question. Um, the question was, what is the face value of the municipal bond? Hmm? Do you remember that, Ashley?
No, I don't.
Oh, that's a bomber. 100? Jiaming, no, there is no 100. Jiaming, there's no $100 bond. There was back in like 1940s, yes, 1940s, 50s, the face value of the bond was $100, and since then, the face value is 1,000. Okay, but muni bond is an exception. Muni bond has a different face value. And Jiaming, the face value, uh, again, in the print media, the way the bond price is quoted is the percentage of the face value, right? So in the print media, there will be in the print media, the prices will be all like uh, something like this, but that's percentage. Okay, and since for treasury and corporate bond, the face value is 1,000, so that means um, if it is 100, that means $1,000. If it is 91.735, that means $917, right, and 35 cents. But so also muni bond, the price is that's percentage, 97.570, right? So, but the face value is different. So if you know the face value, then multiply it by 0.975, you will get the price. Okay, nobody got it right, so no one gets any point. The face value of muni bond is $5,000. Okay, 5,000. So it's very expensive. Meaning, if you have so this is kind of shy away factor. I mean, for individual investors, this $5,000 face value is something that deters individual investors from holding. First of all, if you have only $5,000, of course, that's the face value. That doesn't mean that's the selling price. Selling price would be something like 97% of that. So then think about it. 97% of $5,000 face value. 0.97. What was that? The price was 97.57. So 9757. And if you do that, you come to 4,878. Okay. But anyway, if you have only $5,000, you can only buy one, right? If you buy one, and since the coupon interest is not that bad, coupon interest rate is 4.5. So that means, annually you get 0.045. You get this. Annually, this is your interest. Okay? And it has muni bonds generally have, long maturity. In our example, it's probably a 30-year bond because the maturity is June 15, 2037. So most likely this bond, and I told you this example was taken in 2010. How do I know? I calculated it. I traced it back. There was no clue anywhere in the book that says these examples were taken at some point. There's no clue, no indication. But I traced it back. I will show you how. So the muni bond. Most likely this bond was sold in 2007. Okay, June of 2007, and 30-year bond. Most likely 30-year bond. Compared to, but think about it. The reason individual investors generally don't hold muni bond is because of high price, right? Because if you have $5,000, you can buy only one. And if you think about it, with $5,000, you can buy this corporate bond. The price is, about $917.35. So with $5,000, you can buy at least like 5 of them. 5. And then since coupon rate is 7%, you'll get $70 every year. $70, so you bought 5 bonds. So 70 times 5, you'll get your interest is $350. So that would be, of course, better than this. I mean, with the same money, same amount of money, right? You get $350 on this. You have 5 bonds. In this case, you have just one, and you get, $225 a year. So most people would think, oh, this is better. But here's a catch. Muni bonds, interest on muni bond is tax exempt, right? You're exempt from federal income tax as well as the income tax in the state that the bond was issued. So New York state tax, right? This was, issued by New York City Municipal Water Finance Authority, right, in 2007. So at least, New York state tax, federal income tax, and New York state tax, you will be exempt. Your, return, right? That $225 will be tax free. Okay, in this case, it will be taxable. So you will need to compare that, after tax effect. So now that's why we want to go to. So let's take a look at this. So most of the times, it's the institutional investors that buy municipal bonds. Institutional investors, right? Institutional investors like hedge funds, insurance companies, pension funds, they buy muni bonds. Because they have, think about insurance companies, they can mobilize huge amount of capital because insurance companies are loaded with money, right? Think about it. Insurance companies hardly pay out. They hardly pay out, but there is constantly cash inflow, right? So they will manage that fund, right? They will manage that money. So they spread that money over a wide, widely diversified portfolio, and a big chunk of that portfolio will be muni bonds because muni bonds are relatively paying you good interest and safe. I mean, compared to, now think about it. Between these three types of bonds, Treasury is the most safe, right? It's the safest. And corporate bond is the least safe of these three types. Muni bond is somewhere in between. Of course, some muni bonds are not always safe. I mean, New York City muni bonds are very safe because New York City is, a financial center of the world, and there is hardly a chance the New York City government would go bankrupt. But not all the city governments are like that. Back in early 1990s, city of Bridgeport in Connecticut, they went bankrupt. Also in early 2000s, I believe it was early 2000s, state government of California went bankrupt, right? So not all the muni bonds are safe, but NYC, New York City, muni bonds are quite safe. Now, so here's the example. Here's the example of the how we should, weigh the advantages of the muni bond and compare it with the regular bond, or compare regular bond or corporate bond with muni bond. Now, so investors compare after-tax interest income earned on taxable bonds against return on muni bonds. So investor in 35% marginal income tax bracket has $100,000 to invest in either corporate or muni bonds. Now, marginal, did I explain this before? But this was, if you did chapter 2 problems, this is something you have encountered already. Marginal tax rate means, okay. Here. We'll know that when you pay taxes, right? Suppose your taxable income is 90K, right? Suppose your taxable income is 90K, and you think, oh, these are tax brackets. If your income is somewhere between 70K and 100K, then you pay 25%. Then you might think, oh, I pay 25% of the 90K. No, it's not like that. You go through every tax bracket. In other words, well, then you might think, oh, I pay more than. No, actually, you pay less than 25% of 90K. Why? Because first tax bracket, let's say it's 0 to 15K. For this portion of your income, you don't pay anything, 0%. And then for 15 to 35K portion of your income, which is about 20K, you pay 15%, right? And then for 35K to 70K portion of your income, you pay 18%. So that's about 3.5. I mean 35%. 35K. So here you pay 0. This one, let me. For your first 15K, that means for your first 50K, 0, right? 15K times, right? And for your second layer of your income, you pay 15%. Oh, that's 2K, I'm sorry. That's actually 20K. Okay, so between 15K to 35, between 35 to 70K. So for that 35K portion, you pay 0.18, right? 18%. And for this portion of your income, which is 70K to 100K, that's 30K. You pay. That's what you pay. So in other words, think about it. If it is like this, you're not really paying, calculate all of those, right? Using the calculator, right? Of course, tax for this portion is $0. And tax for this portion is 3K. For this portion, 35K times 0.18, 6.3. For this portion, 7.5. And think about it. Sum everything, right? Sum everything. Then that's what? 16.8K, That's what you pay as tax. Then think about it. Your effective tax rate is, so then, your taxable income was 90K, right? So if you do this, then what do you get? Divided by 90K, 18.67. 18.67%. So that's called effective tax rate. Effective tax rate. Okay, so you're not paying 25%, right? Don't be a fool. If you think, oh, my taxable income is 90K, so 90K falls into this into this bracket, so I must be paying 25% of 90K. No, right? It works like this, right? So, and then marginal tax rate means if you're making one more dollar. Suppose this is your income, taxable income. If you're making one more dollar, right? If you're making one more dollar, what's going to be your tax rate if you're making one more dollar? Anyone? If you make one more dollar, where would you fall? Your tax rate, which bracket will you fall? Anyone listening? Is there anyone? Ashley. Ashley, are you there, Ashley?
Yes.
Yeah, Ashley. Then you can answer this. If you make one more dollar, which tax bracket do you fall into if you make one more dollar? So we have tax brackets like this. If you make one more dollar, which tax bracket do you fall into? This is something even a second grader can do. Ashley, 700K? No, why? Oh, you mean 700K? That's not even. You can do better than that. That's 700K. You mean 700K to 100? Not 700. 70K through 100K bracket. 70K through 100K bracket. Isn't that what you're saying? Isn't it what you're saying? Eva, right? Ashley, you're just okay. Ashley, you're just completely mute, and Eva, I think what you're saying is this 70K through 100K bracket, right? Isn't that right? If you make one more dollar, right, still you will be falling into this bracket, right? That's what is meant. Yeah, so be more specific, because there was no 700K, and it's a range. It's a range of income, right? If you make one more dollar, the way you answered it, it's gonna be 700K if you make one more dollar. That's obviously not. That's obviously nuts, right? Yeah, 70K through to 100K bracket. Yes. Yeah, think about it. That's what is called marginal tax rate. I mean, if you make one more dollar, what will be your tax rate? Even if you make one more dollar, still you'll fall into 25% tax bracket. You'll still fall into 25% tax bracket because um, uh, until you make another, think about it, until you make another 10K, right? Until you make another 10K, right? If you make another 10K, then if you make one more dollar, then you will go into, so until you make a 10K, the marginal tax rate will still be 25%. And if you make one more dollar beyond that, then you will fall into 32K bracket. So that's what is meant by marginal tax rate. Okay. So anyway, Eva, I will give you 0.25 because at least you're welcome. Uh, uh, Although you didn't say it right at first, but you meant, I know what you meant, I could guess, right? So you get, 0.25. So please don't turn away this. This is very, easy. It's a point giver. And if you are given a chance, please, make please make good use of it, right? And point, you might wonder, that's just 0.25. Yeah, I know what you meant. That's why I gave you, I I made interpretation. I gave you a interpretation in your favor, right? And you might think, what's the point of? I can't, read that. You might think, what's the point of, oh, no. What's the point of all that, when it's only 0.25? No, it really, it helps. It really means, why? Because, okay, I'm gonna, open, why? All right, you see, this is the participation point. Actually, this is attendance and the participation points. Okay, this is your class, your section. There aren't. Here's someone with, a huge participation point, and every day, let's see, participation points here. Every day for attendance, you get 0.1. You get 1.67. No, 0.167. I'm sorry, 0.167. So 0.25 is already making up for your one absence, more than make up for your one absence. In some sections there are people with huge participation point, right? That really, think about it. Out of 100, what this can do is what this can do is a big deal, right? It can do. So let's back to this example. So what this means is investor in 35% marginal income tax bracket. That means if he makes any if he makes any additional income, it will be taxed at 35%. So think about it. The interest income from the bond is additional income, right? And so it falls into 35% tax bracket. So then think about it. $100,000 he puts into a regular bond, corporate bond, which pays 7% coupon interest. Then his interest income is $7,000, right? 7% of this, but that's taxable at 35%. If he puts the same amount in the muni bond, and if the muni bond interest rate is 5%, there'll be $5,000, right? 100,000 times 5%. And then you might think, oh, corporate bond must be better because, it's 7,000. But look, this is taxable, right? 7,000. Tax rate is 35%. So then make adjustment. Let's make an adjustment for that tax rate. So whatever is left after paying taxes will be 0.65 or 65% of that. So 7,000 times 0.65 will be 4,550. Therefore, then which one is better? Muni bond is better because 5,000 is tax-free, right? But the 7,000 is, taxable. So you have to find the after tax, right? After tax income. Also, it's the same thing as, so where did I put it? Okay. Also think about it. So the muni bonds, the tax rate of the corporate bond, right? That means, that's Greek character tau. Tau is, T, right? I better write it. Tau is more like, it's, it's written like this. Tau. Okay, corporate, we must adjust it by, no, coupon. Coupon interest rate must be adjusted by corporate tax rate, right? This is what? This is the after-tax coupon interest rate, after-tax coupon interest rate. And then this is, then it will be, then you will need to compare whether this is greater than or equal to or less than coupon rate on muni bond, right? And in the example, we multiplied, they multiplied what they did was instead of comparing the rate, they compared actual after-tax dollar interest, right? What the book did was, and that's basically if you multiply this by face value, right? face value of the muni times, right, coupon rate of muni, right? Then this will be in dollar value, but this will be in dollar value. This will be in rate, right? So one way to compare whether we have, think about it, whether it is equivalent. I mean, if suppose if they are equal, right? If they are equal, well then what this means is the corporate bond return, corporate bonds interest after tax must be equal to muni bonds. I mean, for them to be, equivalent, right? If we solve this for, in this case, we solve this. This is, this result. This is the solution. We solved it for muni bond interest rate. But if we solve it for, what if this is the unknown? You want to know, oh, what is the, what should be the corporate rate be? What should be the corporate bond interest rate be to be, equivalent to the muni bonds coupon rate? Then we can solve it for, this IC, which is, and think about it, this z equals x times y. If you want to solve it for x, we know we'll simply need to, right, divide it by y, okay? And then this is, this is basically what this is, right? This is basically taxable, equivalent taxable yield. Equivalent taxable yield is muni yield over 1 minus tax rate, right? So equivalent taxable yield means a taxable bond, interest from the taxable bond, or yield from the taxable bond. Yield is, yield is different from just a coupon interest rate. But let's say you want to see if this corporate bond is better or muni bond is better. You'll need to compare these, you'll need to compare these, returns, right? And then for taxable corporate bond, for that to be equivalent to the muni bond, it has to be at least equal to this. And if it is like this, then you don't buy corporate bond, you put the money in the muni bond, right? And if it is like this, then you put the money in the corporate bond, okay? And we will just change the notation slightly by putting, I'm going to put y there because y means yield. And I've been telling you over and over, yield is different from just the interest rate, y. Yield is a bigger concept. Yield is a bigger concept. And yield is, I've been telling you this over and over, yield is annualized return. And in the first topic, as we were talking about the house value example, there were, two scenarios, scenario 1, scenario 2. And I told you, scenario 1, in the scenario 1, if you annualize the holding period return, that's, that's, yield, that's annualized return. But then in scenario 2, from scenario 2's perspective, the annualized return or yield in scenario 1 is only the growth rate, right? Only the growth rate, because you have two sources of cash flow. One is capital gains, which comes from the change in the house value, right? As the house value goes up, capital gains, you have capital gains. That's the primary source of cash flow. And then in scenario 2, you rent it out. So the rental income that comes from it, that's the second source of income. And think about it. The coupon bond is exactly like that. Coupon bond is exactly like scenario 2, because you will have capital gain or capital loss, but you have is interest. Interests are like rental income, right? And scenario 1 is exactly like zero coupon bond, right? Because there's no. So yield is annualized return, right? So that's it. And then so that way, and then finally, we don't really have time. It's we cannot even go into the bond valuation. I don't know why. Okay. Oh, there was one day there was a one session that was totally. It was. You guys asked something that is off our topic. So one day was completely. It wasn't completely wasted, but we couldn't, now tips. TIPS stands for Treasury Inflation. What can I get rid of? Treasury Inflation Protected Securities. That's what TIPS is. Now think about it. Treasury pays very low coupon, right? So think about it, like in our example, it's paying only like 2.75%. And then even if the inflation is 3%, you are actually earning negative return, right? You're earning, your coupon, you're getting a negative coupon interest rate, right? Even if the inflation is 3%. So Treasury needs to, if you don't like that, then you should buy TIPS, right? You should buy TIPS, Treasury Inflation. What that means is they are going to adjust, they are going to compensate the par value, adjust and compensate the par value for inflation, right? So what that means is if the inflation is 10%, right, the par value will be adjusted by 10%. So par value will be not 1,000, but 1,100. Okay, and then if the coupon rate is 5%, you will be getting 5% of 1,000 annual a year, 5% of 1,000, which is $50. But because par value is adjusted, right? Par value is adjusted by 10%. Par value is now 1,010. Your interest will be not 5% of 1,000, but 5% of 1,010. Okay. So then, it's going to be $55, but, which may not be much, but, at least, par value has been adjusted for inflation. Another thing is, so that's, this, please take a look at this example. I mean, this You should have done it already, when this was the main lecture. We already know, we all understand, if the economic growth, look, inflation is hurting only when the inflation is greater than the economic growth rate. We spoke about this. If the growth rate is greater than the inflation, no problem. If the economic growth rate is 10%, inflation is 5%, not a problem. Because still, the real growth rate is still 5%. The net effect is still positive, right? Everybody's income, that means everybody's income is on average 10% greater, but even after adjusting for inflation, it's still positive 5%. So nobody will be talking about inflation. But if it is the other way around, your income grew by 5%, but inflation was 10%, everybody will be crying out inflation, because your paycheck actually lost 5%. Your paycheck, the real growth rate of your income was negative 5%, right? And just like that, bond yield is the same thing. If the bond yield is greater than the inflation, and we talked about this in topic 1, if the interest rate is greater than the inflation, nobody cries out. But if the interest rate is less than the inflation, everybody will cry out. And this is what TIPS does. If this is the case, you will be compensating exactly by inflation. So think about it. If the inflation was 5%, you will compensate the par value exactly by 5%, so that your yield will be exactly compensated for inflation, right? That's pretty much the concept that is also at work at salary negotiation. When there is a large, by unions, when unions renegotiate the pay raise, they always they claim the bottom line is our salary must at least be increased by the inflation between now and the last time the pay salary negotiation was signed. So if the last pay negotiation was 5 years ago, and between now and then, if there has been 10% inflation over 5 years, then it only makes sense for the union. It's only fair for the union to demand for 10% raise, right, to compensate for inflation over the last 5 years. That's what TIPS is, all about. I don't think we have time to go over the actual example. And although it's 3:05, almost 3:05 now, I think we can't really do much about that. So I think it's and I am so exhausted. My head is pounding. My head is pounding. Not just pounding, it's also throbbing. I don't know. It has something to do with my heart. cardio. I have some cardio issue, and my and anxiety and everything is all working together, and my head is pounding. Uh, the whole face and my brain, everything is throbbing. Um, so I think we will have to call it a day here at this point. Any questions so far? Any questions? All righty, thank you, Eva. Any questions? Yeah, I will see you on Thursday. If there are no more questions, I will stop sharing and stop recording.
Bless you, Professor.
All right, you too.
God bless
Thank
everyone.
you. All right, you have a great day. Have a great day, and I will see you all on Thursday. Okay? All right, I'll stop recording and sign out.